All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. Today we're going to be looking at the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. I've had this device for probably 3 months or so, and I wanted to talk about my experience with using it for video and some other things for creation. Now, just for reference, I'm actually using the Sony Xperia Pro I to record this video. So we're going to talk about this. So this is their latest device. Technically, well, there's a 5V out, but this is their high-end, high-spec device. So we're going to cover the basics like I always do with any phone review: hardware, software, etc. So the first thing I want to talk about is the hardware. This is a 6.5-inch 4K display. It is 1644 by 3840. That is a 4K display at its best. And it's on a smartphone, which is incredible because Sony has been doing this so long, and I'm surprised that they don't get as much recognition as they should when it comes to their displays. People tend to pick it apart or say it's not really 4K or all these other things. But the fact of the matter is, they're the only ones doing this right now continuously and consistently with their displays. So they really should get more credit, and they should just have more respect in the smartphone game. But I'll get to why they probably don't get acknowledged as much as they should in a little bit here. But you've got a 6.5-inch display. You've got a 48 megapixel main shooter on the rear at f1.9. And this thing can shoot 4K at 24 frames, 25, 30, 60, and 120 frames per second. Also HDR. So it's got a 5-axis gyro stabilization as well, and EIS and OIS. So the camera is Zeiss. So it's set up flawlessly. It's going to record video great. It's going to take photos great, right? And then you've got a 12 megapixel on the front at f2.0. It is a wide lens as well, and it is HDR as well, and it can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. So the camera setup on this device is there. There is nothing to complain about that. This has 12 gigs of RAM, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor inside, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. I mean, you see companies that are saying, excuse me, that they can't put in a bigger battery, and Sony's doing it in this little thin device. This is an OLED display, 120 hertz at that, folks. 120 hertz display. I mean, what's packed into this device, just reading the specs is incredible. Now, I am on Android 13 still, but it is going to get upgraded to Android 14. And this has a SD card slot, 256 gigs of storage on board, and you can have up to 512 gigs of storage. This is the 256 gig model though. So, kind of reading those specs, you think, oh my God, that's an amazing device. You've got stereo speakers. You've got they have this dynamic vibration system in here. Like when you're playing videos or something like that, an extra bar will come up, and I'll show you what that looks like. And the phone itself, any kind of bass thump or anything like that, the phone vibrates. It's very unique. It's eclectic. It's not something that's new, but it's to Sony phones, but to other phones, they probably don't have that technology. A lot of phones don't have that technology. So you've got stereo speakers, like I said, their dynamic vibration system, Bluetooth 5.3, Wi-Fi 6E. You've got a lot here, man. And you've got Sony's official camera information here. And that is what kind of sets them apart. This is like my mirrorless camera, basically, in a smartphone. And the phone I'm recording with, same thing. The Pro I is even higher than in camera quality than this particular device. So, but that's to be questioned whether or not it's actually true or not, like as far as the quality goes. But yeah, so you have Type-C 3.2 on here, and OTG, and video out, because you can in fact have a monitor setup with this, and I do have the monitor setup that I used on the Pro I. I checked it out with this as well. It is actually phenomenal, really solid. So all the specs and everything aside, why aren't people talking about this phone? Why aren't people buying this phone? And that's the conversation I want to get into real briefly before I get into more about the device. And it's very simple to me. People aren't really talking about this device because it's not on carriers. It's not in a lot of places. It's not being promoted. And then Sony themselves are not really promoting it that much. Because see, they're not on carriers, and that's the main thing with Sony. With them not being on any carriers, That is the only reason why this phone does not, like their phones, period, do not sell as well, probably, or don't get the recognition, probably, as well as other phones. That's simply it. If they were on carriers would help push this device more, and it would be great. Like everyone would be talking about it. But unfortunately, in the creator world, I'm saying like the people who so-called do reviews, you won't find as much about this device getting hyped for some reason, because Sony's probably not paying people to do reviews like a lot of companies do. Sony's not, in that arena where, you know what I'm saying? You can easily push your product up if you are willing to pay. And I'm not saying other companies are doing that, but, Sony doesn't, I don't see a lot of creators, Sony sent me this, Sony sent me that. I don't see that often. And I think if Sony were pushing that, then yeah. But also another flip side of that is Sony's game is not so much smartphones at the top of their list. It's going to be other items like their cameras, man. Every creator uses probably a Sony camera and has multiple to record on their channel. This is probably just a fact. I have several. I have multiple cameras from Sony, but I mean, it's just what it is. Their products are that good. And again, like I said, if you missed it, I'm actually using the Sony Xperia Pro I to record with this, and I'll go ahead and show you. I love to show you that I'm actually being honest with you here. Oh, skip this. There's the Pro I right there. You can see it right there. Yeah. So, and we're going to get into the cameras and everything in a minute, but the Pro I mean, just Sony cameras in period are just great, folks. And I honestly used a lot of times when I could use my mirrorless camera, I just went to this camera, and I fibbed a little bit by telling you guys I was using something I wasn't sometimes, or if you guys just didn't just didn't ask, I just wasn't upfront and honest and saying, hey, that's really this, So that's kind of what it is. So sometimes I like to get your opinion on something without telling you what it is, because I want you to remain neutral in your thoughts. I don't want you to have any kind of bias, because some people have a bias to Sony. Some people have a bias to a bunch, it's just what it is. So let's talk about this phone's screen. So I'm going to go ahead and load up something here. I'm going to load up one of my videos here. I'm just going to kind of move up a little bit here. All right. Let's set it to HDR. Oh, that's so beautiful. I don't even have the brightness cranked up, and it's boosting it. Like, where is the brightness at? Where's the bright? The brightness is set right there. Wow. That is just beautiful. I don't know why my Wi-Fi is acting crazy. Okay, come on. This is trolling me right now. But this is HDR content, man. I mean, this is so beautiful. And then when you crank the volume up, that dynamic system is over here. And what it does is it vibrates. What is up with my internet, man? Like, I don't know what the heck is going on. Let's turn this down a little bit. For some reason, this doesn't want to, it wants to troll me when I'm trying to tell you how great this display is. But you can see the colors being represented here. And that's just beautiful. Look at this. So the display first. The display is absolutely great. It's a cinematic 21:9 setup. And let me turn this down for just a second, because I want you to focus on this display. I don't even have the display up that bright. I have it. It's at about 55%. And it is just beautiful. Now, over video, I know you probably can't tell too much, but folks, I'm telling you, this is a beautiful display. And I often wonder why so many people are not talking about it. It's because they're not buying this device as much as they are. It's probably not getting purchased in the US as often, I would say, because there's a lot of people that I know that I see online that have this device and love it, and it wasn't sent to them for you. This is actually one that they purchased. I actually follow a guy, and he strictly is a Sony fan. He can teach you a lot about Sony phones if you don't know a lot. But he purchased it, and it's his regular phone. Plus, he uses it for everything, creation and things like that. So, but this display here is so beautiful, and it's hard to overlook. This is a beautiful display. Now the dynamic vibration, it kicks in like so. I'm talking and moving, and it's trying to basically pick up any kind of feeling of touch is what it's doing. And so while I'm moving the camera around and then it's shaking, it's finding things to vibrate and give some kind of tone or bass back. That's what it's doing. So I can feel it as I hold the phone here. So I'm going to actually turn that off for a second, and it's going to crank the volume up. Because, you know, they're very expensive. If I was going to rock with a truck, man, this joint right here would be it. This is nice. I'm not really into the lifted thing, but if I was, that white Harley would be the one. So display, volume, everything. This phone is getting overlooked for a beautiful display. Speakers are great. It's sad that it's getting overlooked, and it's disappointing because so many people could have a great phone. But I know the disadvantage, and I've already spoken of one of them, and not being on carriers, and then also not being promoted as much. But I'm going to talk about one last disadvantage later in the video. But nonetheless, this is a Sony product, so you have Sony things in here. You've got the PlayStation. I can do the external monitor. I actually have the external monitor sitting right up here. I don't want to get out of view, but I actually have it. I've showed it to you before with the Pro I that I'm recording with, and it works fine with this device. You just have a lot of creation tools on here from Sony. And then when you add in Sony headphones or something like that, oh, this is just like the ultimate package, because Sony in all its wisdom keeps a headphone jack. Like, why aren't other people doing this? Like, why are other companies doing this? They're doing this to get you to almost force you to buy headphones from them. Sony, on the other hand, still gives you the option. They give you the option. Simply put, they give you the option, and that is impressive. So you got stereo speaker set up, you have headphones set up, you got your Type-C, and then you got your SIM tray and SD card slot on the bottom. Your volume rocker right here, power button doubles as a fingerprint reader, and you have the camera, quick launch camera button right there. That's one that, let's jump into a dislike real quick. A lot of times I hit this button. I don't want to disable it because it is useful and I use it a lot, but sometimes I hit that too much and I don't like that. Then you have no cutout at the top here with this display. You just have a little chin on the bottom and top where the speaker is, and then the front camera is right there. And again, that headphone's up there, microphone up there, and then you got another microphone down there. And on the back here, you can see another microphone. You got your camera set up right there, and then some Sony branding. So before I move forward to the performance and everything, this phone has a grippy texture on the back of it, and it has like these ridges and lines all around the entire device, unlike the one I'm recording with. The one I'm recording with is more of a smooth type thing. It's smooth to the touch, but then has grip on the sides, and the grip has bigger lumps, so it doesn't feel like it's as grippy. Make sense? So that is important. The hardware on here is good. The screen is beautiful. The speakers are great. The performance on here is spot on with everyone else. Like, it's the Snapdragon Gen 2 processor. Why wouldn't it be good? I mean, most of us just do social media on our devices anyway, so, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be good enough for most people. And day-to-day tasks for performance, like, I haven't experienced any kind of crashing or anything like that. There's just been nothing, because I haven't set this up to be like a main driver. And I've just been using it for the last 3 months or so, and just kind of recording with it and doing a lot of video watching on it and social media, tons of social media. So, but that's what I do on my phone that I actually use, that I take out of the house with me, both of my phones. And so it's no different. It's a great performer altogether. Now, another dislike for me was that I couldn't uninstall Facebook or LinkedIn. That was bloatware that was on here that it wouldn't let me uninstall. I didn't like that. So I could only disable them, and that's it. So they still use a little bit of resources in the back, but hey, it is what it is. So after all that and is said and done, why wouldn't a person buy this? Oh, one last thing. Battery life. Battery life is better than I thought it would be. because of the way the 4K display is, it's not always scaled up to 4K. So battery life on this is actually stronger than you would think it would be. You can make it through a full day and then some. Now, if you're on it heavily gaming and watching a bunch of 4K, I haven't been able to get a full day out of it. So those days where I did a bunch of 4K, because I normally watch in 4K. I don't know why that YouTube video wouldn't play in 4K for me for some reason. It's trolling me. It always happens on video. But those days that I did a bunch of 4K, like when I first got it, I was like, oh man, I'm 4K everything. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it was. And I learned quickly that that's not going to work, that the battery life is not going to be that great on here. So the battery life kind of diminished within 18 to 16 hours. It was gone. You know what I mean? So I said, I got to scale it back, and I just got to watch things at 1080p or 1440p. And then, make sure the Wi-Fi connection is good or whatever, and it's good. So battery life, you'll make it through a full day, like most devices, and that's just it. Now, one of the main reasons why a person wouldn't buy this is the price. It is priced right in line with other smartphones, but there are not very many incentives. Like, you can only get some kind of incentive if you're buying it from like a store who's discounting it, and sometimes Sony discounts it, and you'll be able to get it on sale. I've actually promoted to you, hey, this is how do you drink your coffee, by the way? Go ahead and hit that poll and hit that up. But I've actually told you about Sony discounting certain devices, like the one I'm recording with. They discounted, like, sometimes it was discounted like almost half off, and I was like, you need to get this device. Yeah. Nonetheless, folks, I'm excited to bring you content on this device. It's a great phone, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. I think you'll love it. Just the con of no promotion and no carriers, and, kind of a price that you can't find on sale very often. That might be the only downfalls that I've seen. But other than that, this is a top tier device. Anyway, it's your man Jay. What do you think about it? Take care. Bumpy Cam on the way out.